The corporate exodus of Kanye West is heating up again ahead of Wireless Festival, so I put together a timeline. I wanted to map out exactly how we got here because it didn't happen all at once. We've seen companies like Pepsi and Diageo pull their sponsorship from Wireless, which he's headlining in London in July. One statement from Diageo, which is a major alcohol parent company of like Smirnoff and Guinness and Johnny Walker, said, "We have informed the organizers of our concerns." So now we don't just have companies breaking direct partnership ties, we have companies deciding that they don't want to be anywhere near the environment around him. And when you trace that back, there isn't a single moment where everything collapsed. It's a sequence of decisions across industries over time. So let's start with the first wave. The first thing that's worth noting is that the unraveling had already begun before the most widely reported controversy. Back in September 2022, Ye moved to terminate his deal with Gap. That was a 10-year partnership. It was positioned as this bridge between high fashion and mass retail.
I always saw the Gap as like being the Apple of apparel.
And the way it ended wasn't framed as a moral or reputational issue at that point. It was operational. Ye was alleging that Gap hadn't opened the promised Yeezy stores, that they hadn't met distribution expectations and hadn't executed the vision in the way that he believed had been agreed. So even before the broader fallout, one of his most significant corporate relationships was already under strain and in the process of breaking down. Around the same time, JP Morgan Chase, this was his Bank for Yeezy LLC company and all the related entities to it, they moved to end their relationship with him. So the timing here is often overlooked, but reporting at that time suggested that the decision predated the most explosive anti-Semitic public statements that he made. This doesn't necessarily mean the same reasons were at play for JP Morgan, but it does suggest that things were becoming unstable behind the scenes. Then you move into October 2022, and this is where the story shifts quite dramatically and quickly. So on October 21st, Balenciaga publicly severed ties. They removed Yeezy collaborations from their channels. They made it clear that there were no future plans to work together.
I'd rather have people who are really with me and not people who are just trying to use me.
And then a few days later, his booking agency, CAA, dropped him. This was a big one because agencies sit at the center of deal making. They broker partnerships, they negotiate contracts, they facilitate access, they make you money, basically. So that exit was twofold. Reputational distancing, plus it affects an artist's ability to make money. That same day, a film studio called MRC announced that it would shelve their documentary about Ye, which was finished, by the way, because of his anti-Semitism. Their statement, which was quite lengthy, partly said, "We cannot support any content that amplifies his platform." And then on October 25, this is still in 2022, Adidas ended the Yeezy partnership. This is really the inflection point because Yeezy was a core revenue driver. At its peak, it was generating over $1 billion annually and was a big percentage of Adidas's total income. Ending that relationship had immediate financial consequences for the company itself, which they acknowledged at the time. And yet, they still axed production, they halted payments, they effectively shut down the commercial engine of Ye's presence within fashion for nearly a decade. In parallel with that, Gap formalized the end of their relationship. They removed Yeezy products from stores and shut down all the dedicated channels. Def Jam, which had been Ye's longtime label, then said that they no longer had an active relationship with Ye. Apparently this deal had already ended and his imprint was no longer affiliated. And that was when we started to see the broader ecosystem respond. Retailers like Foot Locker came out and said that they won't support future Yeezy releases. TJ Maxx pulled all the product from its stores. Peloton removed his music from its classes. Anna Wintour reportedly told staff that Vogue had no intention of working with Ye again. So now it starts to feel like the entire surrounding infrastructure is retracting away from him. The next wave came in early 2025. This is after his Super Bowl ad that directed traffic to Yeezy's website.
Go to Yeezy.com.
Which had begun selling a t-shirt featuring a swastika. So Shopify, which powered the store, shut it down for violating its terms of service. That's when it became less about brand alignment or public image, and it was about cutting access to a basic tool of commerce. Around the same time, a talent agency called 33 & West also dropped Ye. They said it was because of ongoing harmful behavior. And then you arrive at the most recent phase, which I think is the most telling, because by this point, it's no longer about companies deciding whether or not to work with Ye directly. It's about whether they're willing to be anywhere near him commercially. Ye is the sole headliner for all 3 nights of Wireless Festival in London. This is a major mainstream music event. Drake did the same in 2025, so this is only the second time that an artist has headlined all 3 nights. Now, Pepsi pulled its sponsorship, Diageo followed, PayPal doesn't want its branding on any of the promo materials. So now it feels like, in this most recent wave of the corporate exodus of Kanye, that the question has shifted from, do we work with him, to do we want to be associated with anything that involves him? I'm Poppy Reed. I tell stories about music, film, and culture. Hit follow for more.